Hello, everyone. I think I'm live now. Sometimes Facebook is a little confusing about this. Okay, it says I'm now live. Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday to you all. It is your soft skills and life coach, Ayana, here to help you with your mental health and to move forward both personally and professionally. Happy spring, everyone. Spring has sprung. It is gorgeous outside. Well, at least in the Bay Area. I don't know where you are in the world, but in California, it's kind of nice right now. I just went for a run this morning and I was like, oh, everything's so green and beautiful and lovely. So enjoy it. Get outside if you can. Let's talk about today's message, which is that the truth is critical and how important the truth is, how it will set you free both personally, professionally, and in our world. Okay. So before we jump into that, oh, I got a funny story for everyone. So I've been saying, I restarted these live videos a few weeks ago, and I said, oh, I have a course that's coming on Udemy. Stay tuned. And every week I'm like, oh, guess what? Next week, next week, next week. So now it's kind of like I'm gonna do a knock knock joke. Knock knock. Who's there? Next week. So of course, this time I actually think it'll be next week because I'm filming and editing. But I just had so much that I wanted to get in there, and I wanted to make sure it was just right and perfect. So forgive me for anybody who's been waiting for that course. I got a couple of messages from people. So if you've been looking out for that, stay tuned. It is coming next week, okay? So in any event, let's move in to talk about how the truth will set you free personally, professionally, and in our world. And you know what's kind of fascinating to me is that I am not someone who has always been a truth teller. And I am now I will say that I've always had a strong sense of, you know, justice and telling the truth about other people, but when it came to myself personally, I mean expressing my truth, sucked at it. Okay. You know, I was always that person who told people, oh, I'm doing fine. How are you doing? I'm fine all the time. Right. And a lot of us do that. A lot of us are conditioned to do that. And so in this video, we're going to talk about why it's so critical to actually tell your truth. And again, with trusted people, right? You don't need to share it, you know, if this is not the forum for you, or if you don't feel like doing it publicly or with people who you're not close to. But sharing your truth is very, very important and healing. And you know, when we go through life, keeping our thoughts and our visions and our feelings internally, we end up suffering. So a lot of us were raised that not showing our emotions is actually a sign of strength. So that's what a lot of us have been socialized to kind of default to. And we've praised people who kept their emotions to themselves, who kept the truth about how they were feeling to themselves. But what we actually know now is how damaging that is. You know, we go through life ultimately not pursuing what it is that we really want out of life. And we stay stuck and we stay silent because of how we lie to ourselves. So we might lie to ourselves, you know, personally, we might lie to ourselves about our feelings for someone else, how someone is treating us in our family. We might lie about our own feelings about our lives. A lot of us go through life suppressing how it is that we really feel, suppressing, you know, what it is that we really want out of life because we may not feel like it's possible or feasible. I did that to myself for a long time. You know, I was a teacher for a long time, and I always consider myself a teacher. I'm always going to be an educator at heart. But I remember for so long, I really wanted to start a business, but I just never thought that I could do it. I always didn't, you know, I just didn't have that vision in my head as somebody who could actually start a business. And so I kind of tricked myself into thinking that and every time I thought about having my own business, I quickly talked myself out of it. It was a truth about myself and what I really wanted for myself personally that I talked myself out of. And we do this with ourselves professionally too, right? We all have different opportunities that we've talked ourselves out of because we didn't think we deserved it, even though our truth was trying to come out. A lot of us have gotten really good at suppressing our truth, and it causes pain. We lie to ourselves all the time. And, you know, I was even having some great conversations with some friends of mine this week about truth. It seems to be the theme of the week. And that's what made me think about this. But, you know, I was thinking about, you know, I was at risk for this illness that my mom had. And, you know, a lot of people in my life, when I got tested to find out whether or not I have, you know, I could potentially have the same illness, a lot of people were asking me, do you really want to know? Right? You sure it wouldn't just be best to keep that information swept under the rug? But I got to tell you, I've come to a place in my life. There was a time when I didn't want to know, but I've come to a place in my life where, yeah, I want to know. Because even though it would be painful, it'd be painful to know that I do have it, or it'd be painful to get any type of bad news. Ultimately I found out is every time I go through, I'm able to come out a lot stronger on the other side. The sooner that I get bad information, the more equipped I am to deal with it. Actually, the longer we sit on things, the worse it gets, right? The harder it gets to deal with, right? So I was like, so truth, even though it can be painful, it 100%, it can help me prepare ahead, get the healthcare that I need. It could help me get my finances together, help me get, things that are important to me in my life done before this illness might take hold, right? It could help me prepare my family. It could help me prepare friends and loved ones. So yeah, absolutely, right? So yes, it'd be painful to know, but a lot of us are afraid of the truth when there is a short-term discomfort or pain. A lot of us run away from the truth because of the short-term discomfort or pain. What I've actually discovered is, let me just take a few deep breaths and walk on through, and I'm way more powerful on the other side. And I've always been grateful for it, even though it's been hard. And that's the same thing professionally too. And also we can think about this in our own world politically, right? As a lot of you guys know, Donald Trump just got indicted, and I don't know what all the political views of people are watching this video, but I will tell you my thing, because my job is about truth. I've helped hundreds of people that I've coached come to their own personal truths so they could take empowered action and so they can move forward, right? And that's where, even though truth can be hard sometimes, that's where it's most powerful. It allows us to take action and move forward. And same thing when it comes to this country. Same thing when it comes to politics and society in our world. There are a lot of truths in this country that are uncomfortable for people. So many of us are paycheck to paycheck. So many of us are struggling in a way that earlier generations may not have been, where earlier generations may not have always been, right? College prices are out of control. Shout out to all the people still paying down student loans. Okay. There's a lot that's uncomfortable and true in this country. But if we ignore it, nothing happens, right? So if we ignore it, we just continue on with status quo. And one way or the other, truth comes out. So I'm a big proponent of this. One of the things that I love about Germany and the way that they handled, after the Nazis and after World War II, that was an incredibly difficult time. I can't even imagine being a German during that time in the rebuilding phase of everything after World War II, because they had to cope with a lot. They had to reckon with a lot. And, what they did was, instead of trying to act like it didn't happen, it's kind of hard to ignore it. They went on a campaign of addressing all of the different root causes that might have led to that, and they went on an aggressive campaign to overcome it. And similarly here in the US, right? We have things from our past in this country that have infected this country that we still haven't dealt with. That we as a nation have not reckoned with the truth. We get defensive. And this country as a whole gets defensive when things are getting pointed out as true and painful and hard. But remember, truth is about love. It's about growth. It's about overcoming and moving forward. It's about moving forward in an empowered way. And so if we can address the truth in our own personal lives, we can take empowered action. And the same thing in this country, right? So when people were talking about Donald Trump's indictment, and again, my understanding, some people were like, well, is this really something that should be happening? And my thing is, yeah, if the truth is, if the evidence in the truth points towards this, there being a good case, yes, because truth is incredibly important. When we respect the truth, it's only then that we can take empowered action to move forward and heal. That is the way that we have good mental health. That is the way that we move forward together as a nation. And that is the way that we move forward in our own personal and professional lives. So I think that, instead of being terrified of truth, let's step into it. Let's all accept that I, as a human being, I'm not perfect by a long shot. Let's all accept that we as people, that the companies we work for, that the businesses that we have, that the people that we love, that the country that we're in, if you're in the US with us, is not perfect. Nobody is. But that only by shining a light on truth can we make steps to move forward. And just understand how freeing it is. When, again, short-term pain for long-term gain. Would you know it? I'm a poet. So with that said, I hope that this video gave you something to think about this week, and I will have my course ready next week, I think. Anyways, I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful week. Start your week off feeling good. You are your answer, and you deserve to feel good, to tell the truth, and move forward in an empowered way. Bye, everyone. Take care.